Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our latest learning lab, this time entitled How to Increase Sales Without Selling Your Soul. My name is Dave Hyde. I'm the manager of the Small Business Centre. Delighted to have you with us this morning. Our Learning Lab series takes place monthly and is presented in partnership with Barrie Public Library. So I do have one of my colleagues from the library on the call with us today, and they will be sharing some updates on library services towards the end of the session. So just to let everybody know, we are recording this session. It will be posted to our YouTube channel, hopefully later on today, and we will be sharing out a link. We also, there will be some announcement of some other resources to be shared towards the end of the session as well. If you have questions throughout, we of course welcome questions. Please do pop them in the Q&A section, and we'll get to them a little bit towards the end of the presentation. But I'm delighted to have with us today Karen Kessler. Karen is a long-standing friend of the Small Business Centre, so it's lovely to have her with us today. She is the managing partner of the Triad Group of companies and also the director of the Next Level Leader Centre for Excellence. Karen is an accomplished and celebrated trainer. She applies her humor and expertise to prepare leaders that are ready to increase their impact and reach in this world. Those leaders that are committed to connect deeply and inspire lifelong change in their tribe. Karen's research and exploration into leadership, motivation, inspiration, and the human brain-body-soul connection have created an understanding of what she calls the next level leader, a leader that has expanded on their natural leadership talent and brings a focus on mastering the skill sets while they foster leadership in others. Karen is known for her ability to take complex concepts and create engaging and fun online and hybrid programs that weave understanding and skill development. Current programs focus on the skills required to create lead generation mini courses, authentic and effective sales, and building capacity personally and for others. And just found out this morning that Karen and her business partner have a book coming out later on this year. So very excited to learn more about that. But without further ado, Karen, I'll hand the floor over to you. Really looking forward to your presentation this morning, and thank you again for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. We have loved everything we've done with your center. It's just been so great how available you guys are and the great advice that you have and how you've directed us through our different ventures has been amazing. So I love the opportunity to give back here. So thanks so much for inviting me.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are going to dive into C.O.R.A Authentic Sales Conversations. I will tell you that I have done a lot of sales. I've done sales for myself, sales for other people. In my last business, I did over $1 million in sales, and I have learned the right way and wrong way to do it. And I'm telling you, you're going to be able to apply what I'm teaching you today in any circumstance. So as you're going through this presentation and you're listening to it and you're like, hey, how does that apply to me? Because I want to spend some time going through some very specific instances near the end and answering all of your questions. So let's dive in. That up there. There we go. So first of all, the very first thing I like to cover is, what does C.O.R.A stand for? It's like the big open loop in the room. So this process, C.O.R.A allows you to sort of remember where you are in the process. One of the things that we always start with is the core desire. It is amazing how many people don't know what they actually want. And it can be the biggest gift you can give to anyone to help them figure out what they want instead of what they don't want, which tends to be our focus. The next thing is, once you know what the core desire are, what you think the obstacles are, or what the client thinks the obstacles are often quite different from that perspective. So we'll spend some time on what those actual obstacles are. Then you're going to put a recommendation together, and then you take action. And there's some key decisions that happen in that piece. So we're going to go through all 4 of these steps. If you've had a chance to print out the handout, you can take notes along the way, or we'll make sure that you get access to all of this later so that you can just sit back and listen. So first of all, why is C.O.R.A even needed? What's happening, we're finding, if you're anything like me and the people that you work with, people are more educated as consumers now. They don't walk in so much and just believe anything anyone will tell them. People have taken advantage of them. And so they get themselves more educated before they even show up around a service. And they're really tired of being sold to. I had someone I was speaking to last week who booked a 20-minute call with me, who has been looking into a particular field to learn, and every single person that he talked to was like hard selling him. And I'm like, that's not going to happen here. I don't even know if we're a right fit. And he really found that refreshing. Consumers also know they have a choice. One of the things that the internet has done is let people know that they can get the same service from lots of different places. So they want to know that you're the right fit for them because they've probably already decided to buy the service or product. And trust only occurs now under certain specific circumstances. The know, like, and trust factor that you've probably heard those words thrown around. People do only do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust. And it's important to take the time to build those. And qualified candidates are a joy. If you're anything like me, when I was fairly new in business, you sort of brought in anybody that had a credit card and a pulse. And what ends up happening is that if you have to drag people into your business, you're going to drag them around. And it's just not fun to work with people who aren't a really good fit. So why C.O.R.A for you today? First of all, authentic connection, even when you're nervous about sales. So often people will hold themselves back from sales, and I want you to be able to connect with people in a way that bypasses your nervousness. That you can have a sales conversation format that doesn't feel salesy, that you don't feel like you're hard selling people, and you know that people won't be sort of doing this away from you, like moving away, that they can lean into the conversation with you. You're going to qualify and choose great clients, which will leave you time to spoil them rotten. And you're going to find your confidence even as you earn it. Normally, confidence is something that shows up as you build competence in something. So we say confidence comes as competence over time. But you can have a measure of confidence even while you're earning it when you're following a process that you trust. And then we want you to follow through on the sale. There are so many people that will hint and imply they never actually ask for the sale or make the decision about whether or not they want that sale. And I want you to have a process that goes all the way through to the end, to actually charging a credit card or like handling that transaction and getting somebody onboarded. All right, a little bit about me, because that's only fair. So my name is Karen Kessler, and as Dave said, I'm the creator of the Next Level Leader Development Framework. I did years of research into leadership and interviewing people to find that there are 5 spectrums that we grow through that allow us different perspectives, skill sets, and beliefs. And so everything that I teach is grounded in those 5. But basically, I'm a long-term student. I don't think I'll ever stop learning. I love it too much. I'm a master results coach. I'm a trainer. I am an amateur researcher. And I've been told I'm a trailblazer because some of the things I do are or seem brand new. So I'm kind of happy to tag that on there. That was kind of cool. So let's talk about sales. So one of the things I'd like for you to do is pop into the chat about why you decided that this was the training you needed to be at. Is there something about, like, how do you currently feel about sales? Where do you think you'd like to take what you're doing with sales in order to feel more successful? Maybe type that in there for me. And I just have to say, my husband makes the best coffee. So. Okay, beautiful. So as you do that, oh, here we go. I wanted to go out on my own, but I've been reluctant because sales is my greatest weakness. Heather, I totally get that. And I bet that it's your commitment to authenticity is your greatest strength. So maybe what we'll find here today is a way for you to be authentic so that you can go get really good at sales. And Sue says, I suck when it comes to the sales part of business. I hear that. I hear that totally. I think you'll find, again, that having a process that really takes care of the other person across the table from you will allow you to gauge in a deeper way. So, and I would love to see any others that popped up. Oh, so I'll leave that. Want to be more non-salesy salesperson, authentic? Yes. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you. Kathy says, looking for new ideas and tips that others are using. Wonderful. Yeah, this entire process started, I was doing sales for someone who had a $30,000 program, and I was doing sales for them after their big program. And they had elements of it, and I put together that with what I know about leadership in order to pull that together. And it is always good to be looking at what other people are doing. And you may find that you only get one or two things out of this that you want to absolutely weave into what you're doing, and feel welcome to do whatever you need. So I love this slide, this new perspectives. Marcel Proust said, the only real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. And what I'm asking for you today is to think about everything that you think, and more importantly, feel about sales. Just maybe just set it aside and just be open to the idea that it could look and feel a little bit different. And that will help you as we dive in here. The next thing I want to talk about is the inner sales cycle. So most people, when they're doing sales, aren't trained to the level that they understand what's happening in the person across from them. That each of us have an internal sales cycle that we go through before we actually buy anything. And if you can get good at knowing your own, you'll get good at recognizing where someone else is in that cycle as well. So there is always an internal trigger that happens. And that trigger is all about, suddenly I know I need something. They know in the car selling industry that that people have a trigger to buy a new car almost 6 months before they actually buy it. And so everything in the industry is all designed around taking people from that trigger right down to the point where they buy from them. The next thing that happens is people go out and collect data. They do a little bit of research. They'll ask their friends, they'll get on the internet. They're actually looking to learn more about the thing that they suddenly decided that they wanted or they needed. Then they decide what the criteria is. And I can't stress enough how important it is to understand that all of us will have different criteria for why we say yes to something. And that these criteria are important to you. They're about what you value. And often we get tripped up in sales when we run a sales conversation based on what's important to us. So part of why I'm sharing this to you is I want you to be so open to understand that everything you need is going to come from the person across from you. It's not going to come from inside of you. That everything is across the table. So they're going to form their criteria. So for instance, if someone's buying a house, they decide they want to buy a house, they're going to start looking at kinds of houses. Then they're going to decide that what kind of neighborhood does it have to be in? How big does it have to be? Does it have to be near schools? Does it have to be quiet, or does it need to be downtown in the action? All of these things are criteria. Then they figure out what the options are, and they'll pick 2 or 3 options that all meet their criteria or will likely meet it. Then they're going to decide from those options. Sometimes what happens is you're just not one of the options. There's just something about you being authentic to you doesn't meet all their criteria. So it's never personal. It's never personal. Then they're going to take action once they decide. And so sometimes people in sales miss that the decision was made. And often the action happens once they've decided. You can tell in a sales conversation that they've decided because the types of questions that they're asking change. They start asking what we call buying questions. They want to know, do you take payments? Can I use my credit card? How do I access it? They start asking very different decisions because they're attempting to action. And if we're shy about sales, we don't recognize it and we don't match their energy for action. And then we lose them when they were ready to buy. And then they go through and they'll make their next decision. So this is the inner sales cycle that all of us do inside of us. And I encourage you to sort of slow down the last decision you made to buy and go through it. And you will find that you've spent time in each one of those places. So next, I want to talk a little bit about confidence. A couple of you have talked about the sort of push and pull around sales, something you have to do and you're not as confident as you like to be. There are 3 factors that come together for your confidence that you can use to appear confident and present for the person that you're there to serve. One is the physiology and psychology of excellence. The other is the actual math of courage. I want you to know what courage actually is, and something called uptime. I'm going to spend a moment in each of these. So the first is the physiology and psychology of excellence. We know, this is great science, that we know that what happens in your head and what happens in your body determine how you feel. It's something about like the movie plus your physiology creates your state, and you have complete control over all of those. When people teach the sort of superhero poses, it's because in certain physiology, this physiology of excellence, you can do a certain pose, there are certain states or emotions you can't reach. If right now you sit up in your chair and put both feet flat on the floor and put your head up, it's hard to reach disappointment. It's hard to reach any kind of lower sort of down emotions. But if you slump down in your chair, and maybe cross your feet or put your head back, it's hard to get excited. Physiology plays a really strong role. Now, the psychology of excellence has more to do with what are you imagining? To know in a moment if you're feeling nervous or you're feeling a lack of confidence, what movie are you playing in your head? Are you playing a movie of them saying no? Or are you playing a movie of you being able to serve them and that working out really well? So I always check in right before I actually meet with someone that I'm serving, whether it's in a sales conversation or whether they're already a client. I make sure that my physiology is the way it needs to be to support that. And I'm playing the movie of success. Like, what does that even look like? So I'm in the physiology and psychology of excellence before I even start. And that allows me to show up in service. The next is the math of courage. Spending a lot of time talking about this and thinking about it and playing with it. One of the things that, and I'm going to say this twice, so listen carefully. I wouldn't write this down yet, just listen first. So the amount of courage that you need to do anything is determined by the gap. It's a gap between who you believe yourself to be right now and who you believe you need to be to succeed. All right, the courage you need is to fill the gap between who you think you are right now and who you think you need to be. Now, the secret is that both of those things is an illusion. We are really not very good at knowing exactly who we are and what we're capable of. We always think that we're capable of less than we actually are. And what we think we need to be successful in a sale is also something we've made up. So what I'm saying to you is you don't actually need as much courage as you think you do. So if we can just peel some of that away and just recognize that the service you provide, you're really good at, and it's your job to find out whether or not the person across from you is capable of getting all the value you can provide. And that's going to be a win-win for both of you. And when that's your focus, then actually doing a sale seems a lot more like the picture on the right of this just beautiful pathway through the, it doesn't have to be this big cavernous thing. You just sort of follow the sun there. The next thing is uptime versus downtime. This is something that we use in our stage training a lot. One of the things that humans can tell is where is your focus. Uptime is when the focus is on what's happening with the people outside of us. When we're actually looking at what's the response happening, what's going on with the people around us. Are they responding? Are they smiling? Are they nodding? What's happening there, so that we can notice consciously all the little changes that happen in body language or in their tone of voice as it changes. Downtime occurs when we go inside and we start to worry. When we go inside and there's this disconnect that happens and everyone around us can feel it. So if I'm connected with you and I'm speaking directly to you, now I can keep talking to you, but at the same time, I'm kind of thinking more about me inside. The tonality changes, the posture changes, and people pick up on it that you're not entirely there for them. So this will create a lot more confidence for you when your focus is external, when it's with the person you're actually speaking to. And we call that uptime. So the three things that will help your confidence is the psychology and physiology of excellence, or posture and what you're playing in your head, 2 is to understand that you don't need as much courage as you think you do. And 3 is to pay attention to where your focus is, that it's up and out while you're having the conversation. Yes, you must be 100% present. So let's dive into the actual process. You've got everything you need for this now. So first of all, we're going to go through core desire, then the obstacles, then the recommendations, then the action. And we're going to spend a few minutes in each of these areas. So the first one then, first before you do anything, is you need to engage with the person. If you start a process right away and they're not ready for it, there's going to be a problem. So we want to engage right away. And what you do this, first of all, is know what your intentions are, which is always to create a win-win. Be very curious, which is a great way to be an Uptime, by the way, and ask questions. Like if you're in a store, like why did you come in today? Or if someone's booked a call with you, ask them, how did you hear about me? What's going on? And just start listening. Be very clear on the time that you have. Time integrity is a huge way and a very easy way to build trust. If you've got 20 minutes, then say we've got 20 minutes. Let's see how much we can do in that time. And be very clear with them. A side note, if you're talking to someone that's not a fit, it's a lot easier to end the conversation because the time's up. Because that can happen. When suddenly you have a lot more courage out there and you're feeling confident and you want to have these sales conversations, you'll realize you're getting a wide range of people to choose from. And so you want to be able to end conversations on time. And the last is permission to begin. C.O.R.A is a permission-based system. I let people know that we're going to go through this process. I let them know that I want to find out what they really want, what's standing in their way. I'm going to make a recommendation to them, and then we'll decide what actions required after that. I say, how does that sound to you? And they say, that sounds great. Let's begin. And I'll bring out the worksheet so that we're going through that together. And so they have given me permission to ask them deep questions. And that is such a beautiful place to really start the process off. All right, so here we go, core desire. So first of all, you want to find out, what do they really want? Once again, people will tell you what they don't want. They want to focus on the pain. And because that's what triggered them to start gathering data in the first place in their inner sales cycle. It's almost always pain that triggers an actual desire to purchase. So find out what they really want. And sometimes you might have to use the magic wand, which is like, okay, let's say that all of that pain, all of that's taken care of. What will you then have instead? And you may need to really call on any coaching skills you have, all of your empathy, to help move people into helping describe for you what success looks like for them. Once you have that, you want to know what's most important about it. And I use that question exactly. They'll tell me what their core desire is. Pardon me, they're looking for a different behavior, or they are looking to buy a pair of shoes. Well, what's most important to you about that? What you're pulling out here is that criteria. So once they've collected the data, they're going to come up with their criteria. You want to know what those criteria are, and they'll likely give you 2 or 3. Make sure you write them down. They're really important. And then imagine their core desire. Make sure you have a movie in your own head. And if you don't have it, you don't move on. You're going to ask them some more questions until you get it. Then we want to assess their commitment level. Sometimes people will have a conversation with you, but they're not really committed to the conversation for whatever reason. So I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed you are to achieving that. If I get anything less than a 7, I'm like, why are you here? Because you might be actually looking at the wrong core desire. Could have both gotten off track for some reason. And if it's like a 7 or 8, I'll say, what gets you to a 10? This is where you start to suss out, because they know they're in a sales conversation. Like, you're really upfront about that. They'll say, well, I want to do it, but I don't have a whole lot of money. I'm like, okay, well, let's say you did have all the money. I want to know whether or not they're committed to this core desire, whether we've got the right thing to work on. So once you've got that, then you can move on. That's right. The next thing is their obstacles. And I ask this question: what's stopping you? And then zip it. One of the things we do if we're a little nervous or a little new at this is that we don't take the time to zip it and listen. The other person knows what they want, what they need, how they want to get it. And it's our job to listen and avoid getting ahead of them. In a short period of time, they'll tell you what their obstacles are related to their core desire. And just write them down if that helps you stay quiet. Understand that it's about their reality. You might not agree with their obstacles but their perspective, what they want to purchase is something that will get rid of the obstacles that they are seeing, that they are experiencing. So avoid coaching in this moment. Just take it in. And then ask, will removing this obstacle open the way to and give them their core desire back to them? Right? If you actually move this obstacle, is that going to get you on your way to what you want? Have them confirm that. Sometimes people can get a little off track, but once you know you've nailed both core desire and the obstacle, you have everything you need to build a recommendation for them. Now, how you build a recommendation changes a little bit depending on what it is that you normally offer. So if you're in a retail sales situation, the recommendation is around helping them pull together what options are or what the criteria maybe could be. It's an opportunity to go in and say, here's a path for you to get where you want to go. If you're selling something like coaching and other packages, and what you want to do is make sure that the recommendation, if appropriate, follows along a similar path that you would take your clients. But what you're not going to do is actually offer your service in this time. This recommendation is a service to them about what path, what steps will get them from where they are at their obstacle to their core desire. So you start by lighting up the obstacles and core desire again. So these are the obstacles and this is the core desire you want. They'll confirm. And then ask permission to offer the recommendation. Again, there's no point in it bouncing off if they're not interested. And then you make your recommendation. And as you do, lay out the steps of that recommendation. I like to have 3 or 4 steps. So for instance, when mostly what I did was coaching before I was training, I knew that my entire coaching process involved cleaning up the past, figuring out what it is they need in their present so that they could set the goals and things they wanted for their future. It was just like a standard coaching methodology. And so I would lay out the steps of what they could do right now to clean up the past for themselves, what they could do to stay more focused in their present, and how they could set goals and continually move forward for their future. And I would make those recommendations specific to their situation. So that's so much data. Now, I very specifically didn't include myself as the recommendation as part of that, because this is where we start to feel disingenuous, right? People will buy the process. They will buy into the path that needs to be taken. And for some people, if they're not connecting 100% for you for whatever reason, or maybe they're not even meant to work with you, it'll be all that they need. So this shows, though, the recommendation part is your audition. It's your opportunity to show, you know what, I know what you need to get from here to there. And if they can see that too, then that raises you up as an expert even more. Now, the magic happens once you've finished the recommendation and we move into the action part. And this is the $1 million question here. How are you hoping I might be able to support you further? And again, zip it. Because someone who's leaning in, who's loving everything, that you've really nailed it with them and this is a good fit, their answer to that is going to be, well, you provide that service, don't you? Can't you help me with that? Why, yes, I can. So there's this play going back and forth that allows the person to not just feel in control, but actually be in control of this conversation. And by the way, if any of you provide services that help people create change in their world, if they don't feel in control of the situation now, they won't take control later, which impacts the value they can receive, just as an aside. So at this point now, it's up to you to make some decisions before you answer their question. Do they actually qualify to work with you? And if so, which service or resource are you going to offer? And so you need to make those decisions at that point. And then once you do, if you decide you do want to work with them, they do qualify, then walk through your service. This is what I offer. This is how the process works. Avoid mentioning price unless they ask, because you're going to ask them, do you have any questions? And then now they're back in control of this. People need to go through their inner sales cycle, right? If they're still at the collecting information place and collecting data, then they're going to have all kinds of questions for you. Just answer them. Answer every single one. As they go through their questions, they'll lead you to collect the data they need to meet their criteria. They'll let you know whether or not you're one of a couple of options, or maybe it's one or two of your services that are options that they're looking through, but they will work themselves through their inner sales cycle. Answer questions and address any concerns that they might have. And then you could acknowledge and invite them with an incentive. If it's a larger service that you're providing that's maybe over $1,500 or $5,000, having an incentive ready for them to finish their inner sales cycle right away is a really good way to do it. And I'll often give them 24 hours if they need to go home and talk to somebody or think about it. But you want to acknowledge them by telling them why they would be a really good fit for your service and formally invite them in. And that will put the decision right in front of them to fully engage with it. If they say yes, then enroll and accept payment. What I will tell you is that if you follow this process, you will be surprised by how few people ask you how much your service is until way, way late in the process. I have had people all the way through to send me the contract that didn't know the price until they read the contract. Price is not always someone's criteria, even though most of us tend to obsess over it on this side of the sales table. All right, some of the keys to success. First of all, for you to be very open and have this open curiosity, to be curious about how is it possible that this person in front of you doesn't already have what they need? How is that even possible, right? And how is it that I could possibly help move them forward? And if they're not going to work with me, who am I going to refer them to? Who is the best thing? I love having a deep, beautiful referral index that I can have these conversations with people, and it doesn't matter if they're not for me. For you to be completely unattached to the outcome, that it's all about finding the win-win, whether or not it's a sale for you. Your presence, to be 100% present in that moment with that person, to help guide them through what might be the very first time in their life that they've ever had anyone just listen to that kind of level and depth for them. And you need experience. This is not something you pull off perfect the first time, although most people trying it the first time do make a sale. But you're going to feel awkward in the beginning, and I'd like for you to embrace the awkward. But practice is essential. And then your authenticity, your commitment to just show up for real, so that this person feels like they've already purchased the service from you. They're already getting all of you right now. You're not giving away everything you have, but you're treating them like they're a client right now. So they have an idea what it feels like to have all of you. So I'm about to open it for questions, and I'm happy to run through some examples with you. What I do want to tell you, in case you're a little hesitant about just how quickly we went through a rather in-depth process, one of the things that I want to offer to you is the opportunity to take the course for free. So we have this course, there's a little bit more to it, includes the handouts and access for you to be able to practice this with other folks. And so the coupon code for that, if you write it down, is C.O.R.A free, and you can go to www.nextlevelleader.com and just sign up for the course. We normally sell it for $27, but please just have it, go take it, go through the process, then the quizzes, and you'll feel like you can slow this down a little bit instead of just running through it in 35 minutes. You can slow it down and go play with it. And then when you want to practice, we can team you up with folks so that you can practice it. And especially if you decide this is something that you want to embrace. Beautiful. So I would love to pass things over to all of you. What would you like next?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. That was really great. I mean, we it's a quite a common topic of conversation at the Small Business Center in terms of how do I increase my customer base, and whether we're talking about marketing or whether we're talking about we often it comes to the actual action of sales, right? What's my sale process? And I think something, and certainly you talked a lot about it today in terms of qualifying the client. Are they the right client to work with you? Is so important, right? I mean, obviously, when we start a business, we're kind of keen to work with everyone, but we should refine that a little bit, of course, to those clients. But I also think it's worth, and maybe you can, while we're waiting for questions, maybe you can speak to this for a moment. Just considering that not everybody that we have a discussion with is going to turn into a client. And I know in my sales experience many years ago, we used to work on, actually it was a 1 in 10 average. 10 people you spoke to, you get one client out of. I know that does vary by industry, but maybe you could kind of speak to that for a moment in terms of your experience as to really perhaps setting our own expectations, that if somebody doesn't work with us, that's not necessarily a failure, that's more or less a step closer to the next person that will work with us.
Absolutely. We have so many more opportunities now for people to get to know us a little bit before they even talk to us, that I think the numbers are a lot better in the days of just straight old cold calls, right?
Yeah.
Things are a lot different now. We know that cold calls basically get treated like telemarketers. So it's kind of like stay away from that unless it's a proven business strategy in your field. But when it comes down to just being authentic and see if I can help this person, one of the things that happens that even though you find out that it's not a fit, I've had people that I've referred out that have then sent people to me, even though they didn't work with me, because they felt like they trusted me to refer to other people. So it's really important to know that you're out there meeting people, because also some people in their inner sales cycle, some of the cycles can be long. You might talk to somebody now and it's not a right now, and you'll hear from them in 2 years. Mm-hmm. They're suddenly ready to do business because their life has changed and they like remembered that really cool experience that they had with you. But yeah, being unattached to the outcome and understanding that you might do, 5 or 6 of these before something happens, that it's not always that you did something wrong, it's just not the right fit. So you make an excellent point. Like this is why unattachment is so important. When I first started doing sales, that wasn't like as a teenager in our chocolate business that my family had, because people would just come to the booth and buy. That was not a big thing. But I started in direct sales first, like when I was 18. And it was basically talk to everybody. It was like meet with everybody. And it was hard because it didn't feel authentic from me. Mm-hmm. It felt, again, back to the, do you have a credit card and a pulse? Then come on in. And now we're being a little choosier. We're being a little pickier. But when you do sit down and talk to people and they agree to go through this process, you'll enjoy it, even if it's not a sale. And that's such a better way to spend your time, I think.
I 100% agree. We have a question in the chat here. First, there's a comment thanking you, filled with so much confidence to move forward, building clientele without feeling salesy. So that's wonderful. Thank you. And the question is, when will your book be available?
Karen Collicutt and I have written a book called Stop Flocking Around, What Alex the Albatross Can Teach You About Navigating Change. And we're expecting it to come out in the fall. We just finished the book cover and the layout's been completed. We're just doing the final editing on that. So we are excited about that. Maybe we can come back, Karen and I, and chat about it, if that would be all right.
Would love to. Absolutely love to. We have a question here from my colleague Charlene, who is our small business consultant. Fire away, Charlene.
Great, thanks. Great presentation. One thing I see people struggle with is they've made the sale. The person has said, yep, this fits what I need. And then they keep talking.
Yes.
So, how do you teach people, don't unsell it now?
Yes, absolutely. So part of that is downtime. What's happening is they're all inside, still having a conversation that's not happening on the outside. So when we're in uptime and we're actually responding to what the person actually said to us, not what we imagined them or hallucinating them saying in our head, we can be much more on. We can be with them. We can keep up to date, because there's a lot of people, if they're already way into their inner sales cycle, they're ready to act right now. The other thing that I often help people do is create your own sales process for your business. What happens when someone says yes? What is the next step? Is it a contract? Is it asking them what size do you want? Like what do you need to do to move them from the sale into the onboarding, and making sure that that's smooth, that you know what the onboarding process is. When people are new to sales, they haven't onboarded enough people to have nailed that process.
Mhm.
So that's
So
often
when
they don't know what to say, so they just keep talking.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. Yeah, have your onboarding process. Be ready to actually make the sale.
Mhm.
You know, allow for it to be a pleasant surprise, but be ready for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have a question in the Q&A here. A great question, actually, from Hytham. How can I apply C.O.R.A to selling online?
Absolutely. So there's, can you tell me what it is that you're selling online, to be more specific? Because that's a broad topic. I can think of 3 different answers that just crashed into my head. So
Fair enough. Yeah, Hytham, if you have a second, you can just pop that in the chat, what it is that you're selling, please. That would help. And while we're waiting for Hytham to do that, just a quick practical question. Where do you enter the coupon code on the website?
So enroll in the course, and then when it comes up to the actual payment screen, there's a place there to enter the code.
Fantastic. And actually, just a moment longer for Hytham there, another question. Do you have any recommendations on how to get some practice with C.O.R.A or get started if you have never done it before?
So one of the things we do, if you enroll in C.O.R.A on our site, and then what we like to do is we have practice sessions every once in a while where we get everybody together who's learning it, so we can put them in rooms and you can play with it. C.O.R.A used to be a 3-day course that I used to train. And actually I had a request for a smaller version of the course to go in someone else's business program. So we created this little intro, but it does need practice. It still works really well, and it still needs practice. So come on into the free course, and then you'll get access to that. And you can even just get in touch with other people that have it and decide to get together to practice.
Wonderful. Thank you. So in response to Hytham's question here, he's selling clothing through different marketplaces, through different online marketplaces.
Beautiful. So one of the things that I would really look at is, how is your actual marketing going together? How are you actually connecting with people? What kind of copy are you using? So what people need to know why they need it. So if they've already had a trigger, which is why they've landed on your page or said yes to your Facebook ad, then to let people know that this is what you're going to get from this, and this is how it's going to help you, are the same kinds of sales communications or copy that's happening that will move people through. The other thing is how testimonials are put together. If you have other people talking about how this is what I wanted, this is what was standing in my way, I bought this product and this is what it did for me when I took action. If your testimonials work through that process, that other people will see themselves in it, even though they didn't go through it themselves. Does that answer your question?
I think that does, but I'll leave the floor, hold some space for Hytham to sort of build on that if he has anything. And so, good question here from Blanca. So there are similar businesses in Simco that offer gift baskets as we do. So that's her business. She creates gift baskets and sells them. What can we do to raise our sales and promote our products? So I guess the question is, how do I stand out from my competition in what is quite a busy market?
So let me see. One of the things that I really like about being able to reach out for people, like if you're talking about gift baskets, whether you do a Facebook Live speaking to someone about why they became your customer, like actually interviewing someone and taking them, show how they went through that process with you. And you also have the opportunity to do little videos of having somebody who's thinking about it. Like you can actually play that out. You can also have a conversation that brings people into a Zoom call like this, where you can talk to people and answer questions. You can, and it's something that I offer in the larger training, but there's a way to take an entire group through a C.O.R.A. You can do it in small groups. And so if you're looking to raise sales and promote your products in places, maybe that's the way to do it. If you're doing gift baskets, or you have services where you show up at large events in arenas, like they have the big health show that comes to Barrie and some of those others, running this process at the table when people goes by, like, what are you really looking for in this arena? What are you looking for that to do for you? You know, what's standing in your way, or what's stopping you from having that? So we recommend to our clients A, B, and C, and, you know, these products will do that for you. And so often that will increase sales at the table as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions, guys, while we have Karen with us?
Oh, Rebecca, you're awesome. Thank you. Sue, Rebecca has given you the exact link to go in.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And Blanca, I know you're having some sound issues. Don't worry, again, we will be sharing the YouTube video with you later on, so that should take care of all of the sound issues for you. And Hytham has thanked you for the response to his question, so that's great. So we do have some time left, folks, so if you have any other questions, feel free to pop them in the chat box. Just while we're doing that, just while we're waiting to see if there are any other questions, I'd just like to turn the floor over to my colleague Madupe from Barrie Public Library. She would just like to take a moment to talk about some of the wonderful services that they offer, and also share a survey link with you. So Madupe, over to you.
Hi there. That was a wonderful presentation, Karen. Thank you very much. I'd just like to let everybody know that I have the business feedback link in the chat box, and that Barrie Public Library offers lots of books on sales that can be borrowed. The library also subscribes to 2 free educational sites, the LinkedIn Learning and Universal Class, where you can take courses, and in this case, learn more about sales. You can learn at your own pace, whenever and wherever it's convenient for you, get help from certified instructors, and earn a certificate. For more information, you can visit our website, the Barrie Public Library. I'll put that link in the chat box as well. Also, we would like to know what you think about our program, so please take time to fill out our feedback form. Like Dave said earlier, the next Learning Lab is on August 18th, same time, 10 to 11. And I'm sure everybody knows that already. Thank you.
Thanks, Madupe. And yes, you know, I sort of second what you said there. To me, the library is, and I saw there was some comments in the chat there while you were speaking. The library is a wonderful resource. If you are in business, I think it's often a sort of kind of overlooked resource, and there's a tremendous amount of resources and business information you can access in terms of, you know, who's my target market, where do I find them, industry analysis, industry research, that sort of thing. So please do make an effort to connect with your local library. Again, yes, our next Learning Lab is on August 18th at 10 a.m. It will be hosted by our very own Charlene Anderson. So very excited about this. And it will be on consumer behavior, motivating buying decisions. So I think you can see how, you know, today's Learning Lab and next month really kind of go sort of hand in glove. And as Madupe alluded to there, you know, please do fill out the survey. There's an opportunity in the survey for you to ask us for Learning Labs. These Learning Labs really are led by the conversations that we have with our clients. And if we're finding there's a lot of questions around sales, then we're able to reach out to the wonderful Karen and come on. Can you come on and provide a a session for us on sales, because we're getting a lot of questions about it. So really, if you have something that you'd like to learn more about, please let us know. We'll try to line up a speaker and get those questions answered for you. So I do see a few comments. I just want to check that there are no more questions in there. There's one here from Heather. So let's we have we have just about 10 minutes left. So this is a longer question, but maybe we can jump into this here, Karen. So I'll read it out. So what I'm looking to start up is becoming a learning and development specialist that creates training resources for clients while helping clients identify process improvements to streamline work for their employees. So training resources and process improvements. I see that you use Thinkific as your platform for the next level course you are offering. Is this the preferred learning platform for your experience? I've experience with it, Articulate, and mainly built courses in D2L, Brightspace. I'm wondering if I should be taking a course to enhance my skill set with Thinkific. So would you make a recommendation there, Karen?
I am happy to. So one of the things that happened last spring, obviously, we'd already been looking to go online and had been for about a year taking our courses online to make them more accessible. And the very first place I went was, oh, let's do LearnPress. Let's do it for $69. Let's do it cheap. That'll be great. And the whole thing was hard. Just hard. And I could never get it to look the way I wanted to. And then we looked at, I always go to the extremes first. I went and looked at all the ones, the learning management systems, the LMS, that you had to book to get a quote. And so they started at 10,000 and went up to 50,000. And so you had to pay it all up front before they'd help you, but they were meant for big companies and not really suited to the type of work that we were doing. And so we looked at the systems that were supported, like Thinkific, and we looked at Kajabi, and we looked at a few of these, and we settled on Thinkific because it integrated with the other systems we had. It was really easy to use. Their help was great. And we started using that 1.5 years ago, and I would never go back. Love Thinkific and all it does. And most of our clients that come in and learn curriculum development, and that we help them, put their lead magnets together through mini courses, like C.O.R.A is like a small course that one of our students may decide to put together, something like that. If they want to do Thinkific, then we can help them put their platform up. But we liked it so much, we became a partner with them. So we are all in with Thinkific. And so each business might have a different thing that works with them, but we just like what they have. We like what they continue to offer. Their uptime is amazing. And I would say, Heather, that you don't need to take a course to enhance your skill set with Thinkific. Their help and the videos that are there and just being part of a community of other Thinkific users will give you everything that you need to have something that looks amazing. Like a first-time user can put a course up on Thinkific and it looks fabulous. And it's a lot of click and drag. So we love it and our clients love it. So I hope that answered your question.
Well, it's pretty unequivocal. So thank you, Karen. So I'm not seeing any other questions. Lots of thank yous and appreciation for today. So that's wonderful. Thanks for the great feedback there, folks. Again, if you could complete the survey form, that'd be appreciated. Really, the only thing left for me to do then, Karen, is to thank you again very much sincerely for your time today. I do appreciate it, folks. Our speakers for our Learning Lab series, they always volunteer their time. So we super appreciate it. I know you've got a ton on. You're launching a book in we say the fall, but it must seem like tomorrow. The amount of things.
Oh yeah, it's very close. Yeah.
So, you know, I know that your time is precious. Really appreciate you, you providing us with an hour of your time this morning and the preparation time that went into this as well. So thank you, Karen. Thanks everyone again for joining us this morning. If you think of a question later on and, you know, you want to reach out to Karen, you can reach out directly, or you can send it into the Small Business Center. We'll make sure it gets over to her. So, and do remember, you know, we're here to support you in any way that we can. You can book a one-on-one consultation with Charlene. We're happy to help in any way we can for you to launch and grow your business. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all on the next Learning Lab on August 18th. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.